when you're young and fresh in the forex game, you always see people
Hmm.
like, oh, I flipped $100 to 10K, but you kind of become a millionaire in a day though. And it's like, okay, but I'll be happy with 10K, but not knowing that it takes a lot of gambling and a lot of skill to make basically a 10,000x on an account in a day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Forex Capital Funds interview. Today, I am interviewing Denzel, a seven-figure funded trader who has started his journey about 5 years ago. Welcome, Denzel. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what got you into trading?
Yes, of course. Well, my name is Denzel. I'm also located in the Netherlands. Currently, I live in The Hague. Um, and yeah, my trading journey basically started in late 2019. And then I got approached by a friend about IML in 2020, basically January 2020. Um, and yeah, that's how basically my trading started, learning about support and resistance and trading with moving averages.
Where everyone
Um,
starts, right?
basically, you know, trading the tops and the bottoms of a RSI and well, 50 moving average crossover and all of that. So that's how it started for me. I remember my first mentor, his name was Tyrone Foster, teaching the Lorien, and it worked for a while, but at the same time, it was not consistent for me. And
Mhm.
when you're trading with like $100 and they're trading with 1 million, they're celebrating a 20 pip move, and I'm like, oh, that's only like €2, $2. I'm not celebrating this. So I had to basically learn how to trade from scratch afterwards. Um, so I just did a lot of self studying on YouTube. So I really started with price action because it was already something I knew,
Mhm.
based off support and resistances, break and retest of high time frames. And about 3 years ago, I heard about SMC and ICT, and from a friend that was trading with FTMO. And I was
Mhm.
okay, let me give it a try. And yeah, build up the consistency with that as well. And now I'm basically a seven-figure trader because of that. So kind of complain.
You cannot complain. Well, that sounds good. When is the first time that you did get funded with a prop firm? When did it all start?
It started in 2021, January 2021. My first prop firm that I passed was 100K account from my Forex funds.
Mhm.
And that same account, I basically tried to scale up as much as possible. And I had a 200K with them. And I always believed in basically expanding your growth in other firms since more firms is coming along.
Yeah.
One of the firms I moved towards was FTMO because it was basically the first in the game, and they had my fund at FX as well. So um, I accumulated most of my funds for there, and at the total, I was at that point 1.3 million in funding. And then this year, it went a little downhill because yeah, you lose 600K at my Forex funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mental was not there, so I basically had to start all over for myself, because I was just chasing it. And then yeah, funny enough, one of my students gave me a call, and he was like, "Yeah, you fucking up." so I had to so I had to basically step it up again. And thanks to that student, I'm back to 1 million in funding and
Nice.
successfully striving.
It's good to surround yourself with people that can also put you on the spot, right? So,
Exactly, exactly. For me, it came to a point where I was preaching something out and I was not putting that same concept into what I was doing on a daily basis.
Hmm.
For example, I tell all my students, like, we can aim for 10% in a day, but just secure 2% and then spread that out in multiple
Yeah,
days. And I was not doing that. I was like, phase one, I want to pass phase one in one trade. And it's like, yeah. But it was good that one of my students could have just pulled me aside, like, hey, you're telling me to do something and then you're doing something else. And I was like, yeah,
yeah.
I need to change the way I approach the market.
Get back to the basics that you're
Yeah,
telling others. Yeah, that's
basically.
good. So what is the strategy that does get you funded? Because I heard you talking about ICT and SMC. What is your
Yeah,
strategy now?
basically a small mix of both. I still uh, have my support and resistances based off the higher time frame biases. But then I have adopted, fair value caps and buy side liquidity and order blocks. So most of my trades come off fair value caps,
Okay.
higher time frame fair value caps, and then look uh, on the lower time frame, so 5 minute or 1 minute for a entry. And currently, most of the time, I trade London session, so the Asia sweep is my go-to. Uh, Asia sweep or yeah, Asia sweep, and then with London manipulation, and then aim for basically a 2.5 or a 2 RR in return. And
Hmm.
depending on my account size or profit at that current point, I'm then risking maybe 1% or a half of a percent, and that just keep it simple. And just because I realize bigger your accounts are, the less you need to trade. And
Yeah,
that's what I tell everyone. You have 30 days to trade, basically, if you trade the weekends. And yeah, if you have to wait 14 days to execute the trade, just wait the 14 days. Because at the end of the day, if you have 2% of $1 million, yeah, that's 20 grand a month. So
exactly.
just take it easy.
Taking it easy and just scale up your capital that you're trading with, not the profits that you make, and push it to
E-
crazy limits, right?
Exactly. It's I one thing for sure is I had a guy out from Africa once, and I told him, like,
Hmm.
hey, you made 10% this month. That's amazing. It's like, no, that's nothing, because he's trading a 10K account, and he's like, yeah, that's only $1,000. That's nothing. I was like, imagine if you traded for a month on $1 million account and you get 10%, that's $100,000. You don't
Hmm.
need to look at the value of money in this case. You need to look at it as how consistent can you be, because can you make
Yeah,
consistently a 10%? And we all know the answer of that. Nobody could make consistently a 10%
no.
a month. Exactly. So
And
if you
if
want
you
to make
do, go to Wall Street and you'll get a job.
oh, exact. I don't even think Wall Street makes 10% a month on a
No,
consistent. So
but probably
if you
not.
can, yeah. So I saw a YouTube video a while back from the what he called himself, the band prop firm trader, whatever his name is. He did say it as the same thing. It's like, hey, if you want to build consistency,
Yeah,
aim for 1%, 2%, because if you're looking at it from a scale up perspective, it's a lot of money. And that's the same mindset I have now, and that's basically how I aim and my focus towards the markets. This is basically GBP USD, but I'll go on um, a blank chart and start from scratch. So on a normal basis, I start off of the 4 hour, um, but in this case, I started from the daily.
hmm,
So once I started off the daily, I marked up two things. I marked up my previous day high, and then also my previous um, day low. And my goal in this case was to see where the market will draw itself towards.
yeah,
And once we crashed down towards the bottom of the range, I was looking at, okay, since we crashed down to the bottom of the range, where can then the market react of so that I can find a position in. So once I saw we got this first rejection based off this supply zone
Mhm.
here, I was like, okay, we already got the reaction here, but this is a break of the lows, and we got a reaction of the same area. So once I realized, I basically scrolled through all the time frames, and I came here, and I was like, okay, we have this area that already got tapped previously,
Mhm.
but the market still looks like it's coming to this same zone. Is there a reason why it's still coming to that zone? And then I came to the 30-minute, and I noticed we still have this untapped fair value gap here on the 30-minute that was basically pulling price towards it. And once I noticed that price was still coming to this fair value gap, um, I was like, okay, I'll look to enter based off the top of the fair value gap. My
Right.
stop loss would then be on the below of the zone, and then my take profit in this case would have been about 2R of price. So 2R is this area, and I also told myself we have this previous internal high that can
Mhm.
also be a buy side liquidity, and then that's my goal of this trade. Basically, we almost got there, but
Ah, so we got a live trade over here.
yeah. So this trade, and we have it live here, um, based off what I just showed. I have this running with some of my students,
Mhm.
aiming for the tie. So about 3.3R in this case. For them, I normally have my entry here, as my stop loss here, and then the first target is the buy side liquidity about 2R, and then the second is here for the full take profits. So
All right.
this is basically a small trade I have been in since since morning. It's been a while, but let's see how it goes. I thought news would have gave us the push. It gave us a minor push and started to consolidate. So
Mhm.
currently just waiting to see what the market is going to give us. We already in break even and secured some partials at the 1-to-1. So yeah, now it's basically a risk-free trade that we're aiming towards, and hopefully it hits our targets, and then yeah, we can have a nice profit for the day.
Let's
So yeah,
hope so.
yeah, let's hope so.
Do you also manage your risk? I heard you mention to take partials on the 1R, but do you
Yeah,
also put your stop loss to break even, or
yes.
what are
I
how do you manage risk?
Yeah, so basically, one thing I always tell myself is to manage your risk no matter what.
Mhm.
That a few months ago, I saw Swaggy C said something about if you see $100 on the floor, would you just walk past by it and never pick it up? And now I'm thinking, I brought that to the market. I was like, hey, I'm up 1%. I'm basically in profits. Why would I give it back to the market? So I always
Yeah,
go break even at 1-to-1. So if I'm risking $1,000, if I'm up $1,000, I'm going to break even at, yes, maybe a little bit above it, so I can get back at least $100.
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, yeah, cover the spreads, the commissions and whatnot. So at least walk off with something in the market, and then take partials as well, at 1-to-1. Like in this case, we have a 3R trade. So at 1-to-1, we close 25%. At 1-to-2, we'll close then another 50, and then the rest goes towards the final TP.
Nice.
So yeah, just to take something with us, because the market can give and take at the same time. So rather be safe than sorry.
Right. So secure the bag on the way. I think that's a really
Exactly.
good way to go. Right.
Exactly. Just secure
Thank
the
you
bag.
for thank you for sharing.
It's very simple.
It's
I
simple.
always very simple. I mean, we know how ICT trade. We see how SMC traders also trade. It's a lot to comprehend, and
Yeah,
I always say like try to keep it simple. If you understand order blocks, don't try to understand fair value gaps. If you understand fair value gaps, don't try to understand order blocks. Just try to understand. Just try to master what you understand, and if you need to add something to it, add it. But
yeah,
I normally say try to take as much of the charts and just keep it simple. And that's what I did for myself. I'm not focusing on breakup structures or microstructure shifts. I'm just focusing on my point of interest. If it's in my point of interest, get uh, a pin bar or a engulfing or whatnot. And then once I see a reversal pattern, that's my
hmm
confirmation. I know if you trade ICT, you can look for a market structure shift or breakup structure, and then then enter off a breakup block and all of that. But sometimes it's too much, So
yeah,
especially for beginners. Um, so yeah, just keep it simple.
yeah. I think with ICT there is a misconception because they think, okay, I trade ICT, so I trade every single concept there is. But the problem is there's hundreds of concepts that you can use. So I
Exactly.
think it's a really good way that you're saying to keep it simple and not try to trade everything there is.
Yeah, because if you go watch ICT, his mentorships, today he's talking about the Asia sweep. Tomorrow he's talking about the Judas thing, and then
Yeah.
he's talking about the samurai model and the TJIF model. And it's like at this point we have so many ways to trade. I personally just like the Asia sweep as well.
hmm
But yeah, with the current market conditions, you have to adapt to the market conditions. So right now I'm just trading the higher time frames and let it run. But once the
Okay.
market is back to normal, it's basically the 1 minute and the 5 minute time frame. Looking for my Asian sweep. Simple.
Right. That's some really good
Yeah.
knowledge. Keep it simple, guys. That's tip number one.
Yeah.
All right. So, what was your biggest struggle in your trading journey? It has been 5 years, so there must be a struggle somewhere.
Yeah. My biggest struggle was basically my mindset, honestly. The way I approach the market
hmm
was always just like I need to get rich. I want to get rich in one trade, and it was a tough struggle to realize that you cannot become a millionaire in a day. Um, Although many forex gurus that they at least they be honest about one thing,
hmm
that you cannot be a millionaire in a day, but the when you're young and fresh in the forex game, you always see people
hmm
like, oh, I flipped $100 to 10K, but you cannot become a millionaire in a day though. And it's like, okay, but I'll be happy with 10K, but not knowing that it takes a lot of gambling and a lot of skill to make uh basically a 10,000x on an account in a day.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, that was my struggle. Is my mindset going into the market, um, and after a while, it became then my consistency because I had months, maybe months where I could have, well, weeks where I could have go 10 trades in a loss, and instead of me decreasing my risk, I would have increased my
hmm
risk.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. To make it back.
yeah, yeah, to make it back. I was like, no, the market needs to give it back. So I always had that thought, like, yeah, the market is going to give it back, and it hurt. It was one of the most painful experiences ever
hmm
because when you're trading personal uh, and prop firm at the same time, your prop firm account you can buy a new one, but your personal
Yeah.
account is never coming back. And
No.
yeah, that was something that hurt, man. So
What would you
that
reckon is harder? Broker trading, so with your personal money, or prop firms?
depends. I would say prop firms because of the rules. but at the same time broker trading because it's your own money. So
Yeah.
it's really because if I'm trading like my personal account, let's say my personal account is 25K, right? If I can risk 10% on a trade, and if I'm
Mhm.
making, for example, a 2R on that trade, risking 10%, I'm making a nice 2,500 off of that trade.
Yeah.
But if I want to make that same 2,500 on a prop firm account, especially a 25K account, I'm not making the same amount because
Yeah.
I have to risk less. Uh, uh, and if I'm aiming for 2R, that's maybe like $500.
Yeah.
So the if you if the risk tolerance is a difference when it comes to both, but I would say the hardest will always be your own capital, especially when in a losing streak. No one likes to be in a losing streak. So seeing,
I guess.
I'd rather be in a losing streak on a prop firm account than being on a losing streak on my own personal account.
Right. So with the struggles that you just told us, how did you overcome those? How did you deal with it?
Well, my first thought was always to keep it simple. Like, hey, I taught myself how to get here from scratch, so let me continue teaching myself. And then I noticed it's not going to work like that. I had
Hmm.
to find a source that was going to feed me knowledge based off their experience, because I'm basing my experiences basically off my experiences, and I'm like, okay, no, who can I then approach uh, to have that have better experiences than me? So yeah, I got myself a mentor that is specialized in ICT, and yeah, the first thing they said, like, if you want to really make it in trading, you have a game plan. Why don't you follow your
Yeah.
game plan? And that was also something I always said, like, okay, I'm saying, hey, 1 2 trades a day, I'm taking 10. Why? So um yeah, I spoke to a few guys, and one of them was Light of Kingdom.
Hmm.
um yeah, he basically opened my mind a lot about how I approach the market. He's like, you approach the market correctly, but at the same time, your approach is very incorrect. Your risk tolerance was not good. You saying you like London session, but you're trading Asia session. Like, come on, make up your mind. So that was one thing I had to really do. I had to get myself a mentor with the experience that I where I wanted to be. So he's a what 2 million in funding, and at that time I was only 100K in funding. So I was like, hey, I want to be where you're at. So yeah, what's the deal? And yeah, now because of his knowledge, the books he provided, um, the keys to my path. He's like, hey, this is a 6 month plan. If you fail, I'll find you. So I was like, yeah, I got it. I got it. So he gave me a 6 month plan. And the goal in those 6 months was basically to accumulate as much as possible, but at the same time, the only way I can accumulate that is to trade my plan. And I
Yeah.
went from taking 10 trades a day to taking 7 trades a month. So imagine,
Wow.
yeah. So in my first month with him as my mentor, I went, like I said, 10 trades a day to 7 trades a month. But in the same month, I made about $7,000. And in that case, I had to make 3 months before I could have made $7,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then yeah, one of his biggest his motto is, if I have to wait 14 days, I'll wait 14 days. But the patience is the key into the markets and to succeed. And yeah, I have noticed that as well. Sometimes I go weeks without trading, and going weeks without trading doesn't bother me, because I know now, since I have a scaled up capital, all I need is 2% a month. So once I get that
Yeah.
2%, I should be normally done with the markets. And last month, January 2024, I made about 12%. So and
Wow.
that was basically with patience. So that was
And
like
that in the first month of the year.
yeah, first year of the month. seven trades, 12.90 something percent, but I just run it down to 12%, and with basically $1 million in capital.
That's nice. That's some really good gains, man.
Oh yeah,
So
it is.
what besides scaling up capital is your goal for, let's say, about 5 to 10 years?
Well, currently, I my goal is this year to accumulate as much as possible. So right now, I have a list of 10 firms that I want to accumulate from, and that's about a total of 5.3 million in funds. So if prop firms is booming for the next 5-10 years, I'll be rocking about 5.3 million in funding. And then I also want to make my money work for me. So
Hmm.
I'll be looking into real estate. I'll be looking into cryptos. I already have some invested in crypto. But one thing for sure I want to do is to aim for yeah, real estate. Have some passive income, maybe invest in companies or build businesses,
Hmm.
automate, have forex as automation, or use my platform as well. I'm not really a social media person, but like in the past month, I went from 200 followers to 3,000 followers. So,
Wow.
yeah, so to me, is I would like to uh, just have that as automated as well, and use that platform as a way to gain more capital, or just that's basically my goal. So I hope by time I'm 35, so I give myself 10 years, I can be retired. So that's my goal, basically.
That's nice. Well, what is your age now, so that we can know at what
I, I,
at what age you're gonna retire?
I'm 25, so I give myself 10 years to retire at 35, so I can just sit on the beach with a nice cocktail and don't have to stress.
I gotta say that's a good age to retire.
Exactly. So that's one thing I want to do for sure. Be able to provide for my family, my parents as well, without their having to stress. They're very young still, so by the time I'm retiring, they can retire as well. Don't have to wait until they're 70 or 80 to retire.
No, exactly. And
Yeah, retire.
what is your biggest why? Why are you doing all this and gaining that much capital and stuff like that?
I'll be honest with you. I never had a why. From young, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always
Hmm.
said like I don't want to keep working. I have a bachelor's in finance, and
Yeah,
I also work full time. Funny enough, I trade full time and I work full time. And
wow.
when I'm at the office, I'm like, ah, I don't want to be here. But um, I chose to work as well because I'm trading max 2 hours a day. What am I going
Yeah.
to do? In the Netherlands, it's very boring. If I was somewhere else,
I
maybe.
can confirm.
Yeah, it's what can you do? Right now
Yeah.
it's cold, so you cannot be like, I'll be sitting on the beach with my pina colada. No, so I'll just try to be in the office and make some extra money, and
Right.
use that as a leverage as well for taxes. So why not?
Yeah, that's a smart way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a last question for this interview, what is your advice for the new traders out there?
My advice for new traders is don't give up. It will be it's a hard journey. I've been doing this for 5-6 years, and I had many moments where I basically almost gave up. I was a student and trading. I had to get two jobs basically to fund my trading. So I'm glad for prop firms. But if you really want to make it in trading, don't give up. Your day will come. The data that you have collected from all your fails, use that data to know why you failed and how you can succeed.
Mhm.
And yeah, have a track record. If you have to get my FX book, look at your P&L, your profit losses, look at how much you're risking, how much you're losing, all of the basics. uh, is no secret, actually, in the forex game. You have a lot of forex gurus that actually tell you some good stuff, and one of the good stuff is have a track record, collect the data, journal.
Yeah.
If you need if you like to do it on social media or something, journal on Notion, journal on paper. Just collect the data, and the data can help you manage your next trades, your next profits, your next goals. Because now you have a platform where you can see, okay, I went wrong, why I went wrong, where I went wrong, and then you can better yourself as a person. Because trading is a skill, and once you learn it, you will never forget it. It's like riding a bike. When you first start riding a bike, you have your steering wheel. I don't know how you say that in English.
Support wheels, I guess.
Yeah, your support
The wheels
wheels.
that support on the side.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And the first time those come off, you will fall. So look at that as trading. If you're trading
Mhm.
demo accounts, trust me, you will see beautiful profits. And the first time you start trading your own money or prop firms, you will fail. You
Yeah.
have a very small 1%, I would say, that off the bat from demo trading. Just make it, but don't be scared to fail. And but like I said, if you fail, just don't give up. Your day is coming, and give yourself a plan, follow your plan, and you'll make it.
Right. That's some really good advice for the new traders because you shouldn't give up. That's a good one.
Exactly.
All right. We're rounding off this interview. Thank you so much for your for taking the time to join us here.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to all of you watching, thank you so much. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us some love in the comments. And for Denzel, and be safe and see you next time.
Thank you. Have a nice one, guys.